Al Parker sometimes struggled, as many guys did, to get it hard, and I was a go-to fluffer. I was going to be the team player, so I remember fluffing Al Parker. So I can say I've seen Al Parker's.
How was that? Hi, how are you? Let me fill you in a little bit on who Derrick Stanton is and how I even found him in the first place. I actually did an episode with Mickey Squire. I put that out probably a month ago and it got such an amazing response. And I was so honored to sit down with him in the first place. I mean, to hear stories about that time and from a gay adult star who worked during that time, it just felt very educational and rare and insightful and really just enlightening. And so since then I've been on this mission to find more gay adult stars from that time. And it is very hard because unfortunately a lot of them have passed. And also the people that didn't pass, a lot of them have moved on in their lives or in a different chapter in their lives and they don't go by that name anymore and it's really hard to track them down. But I posted everywhere. I posted on Instagram, I posted on my YouTube channel about it, and I posted on my Facebook page, which is growing a lot. If you don't follow my Facebook page, you should, because it's a really fun page too. But I posted on my Facebook page and all of a sudden I saw a comment. And at first when you see a comment like that, it's like you're a little wary because you don't know if they're being for real or if they're just kind of, I don't know, just trolling me. But I want to never pass up an opportunity, especially when it comes to a good interview. I will always take a phone call with someone and see if they're kind of conning me or what the deal is, but I will never ignore that just in case it's a good story. Before we knew it, we were here at the Abbey in West Hollywood and sitting down to have a conversation, and boy, am I grateful that I followed through with that DM. I want to make sure you're in it.
I've seen some of your other work. The recent one at the bathhouse, I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah? Thank you.
I really liked it. I grew up in bathhouses, so it was like, no.
Thank you so much for coming here. It means so much to me. I mean, I think nowadays, like I was saying in the Mickey Squires interview, it's very hard to track down people from that era that did adult film.
That are still alive. That's a factor. I was never really like the star, if you will. I was always like Mr. Reliable. I was always available, and I could get it up without, there was no Viagra then. I was always like, oh, he can perform, he can get it done. Because sometimes the shoots would take hours because someone would have these intense fears. You're in front of cameras, lights, and crew, and you're like, oh, wait, this isn't like what I watched when I'm at home. No. It's not.
I did see that. I did see that you were kind of coined Mr. Reliable because you could get hard without Viagra.
That's right. The way that worked for me is I had my own psychological fantasies that worked. So if I got in a place where it was a little more challenging, I always had a couple things in my head I could use.
My new newsletter, Color, is finally here. If you love my channel and want to get even more, Color will be the go-to places for updates on my life, as well as queer travel, culture, and stories that you really won't find anywhere else. It's completely free, and you can sign up by clicking the link in my description. So you're 24. What were you doing at that time in life?
At that time in my life, I was working as a night custodian for schools. I had a union job working nights and lived with my parents still. I had a friend who knew a photographer, Barry Knight, and he was the head of owned Jaguar Productions. And he was making a film called Hard Hat and wanted me to play a role of this there was a big burly guy that was supposed to top me, but he was so high on the set he couldn't do it. So what do? You improvise. So they switched roles. That's where I established my other sort of claim to fame of Derrick Megaload Stanton. I could come a lot. So I'm f***ing him, and then I'm getting ready to come, and Barry Knight pans back, and I was like, I'm not done. and then you see in the film he goes back in to keep seeing the rest of the shot. It's kind of fun.
Do you remember the pay at the time? I'm just curious about all that.
The pay was $300 a day, and then went up to $500 a day, which at the time it helped pay my bills. I had a regular job, and so it was like a part-time job for me. And then before I knew it, I had made like 30 of these things because they kept calling me, and I kept showing up, and before I know it, I had this if you look on IMDb, I have this list of different films I was in.
Got a package for you. All right. time here? Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking forward to getting this for a long time. Right, yeah.
You're developing here.
Yeah, it keeps me pretty busy.
Is your camera?
Yeah. You into cameras a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, I can show you a few things. Check it out.
Okay.
This is a 35mm Pentax. Pretty good camera. Pull up and check it out. So you look through it, and like if you're looking at that object there, you want to focus it and get a sharp focus of it. Maybe I can show you a few other things other than how to take pictures too. Maybe if you're interested, I don't know.
Born John Calvin Culver in 1943, Casey Donovan didn't set out to be a star, let alone a gay icon. He was a former high school teacher from upstate New York who stumbled into adult film almost by accident. But by the early 1970s, under the name Casey Donovan, he became one of the most recognizable and celebrated faces in gay adult film. His breakout role in Boys in the Sand wasn't just a career milestone, it was truly a cultural moment. The film was even reviewed by the New York Times, and it was played in mainstream theaters. And what I liked the most is that it showed that gay sexuality can be artistic, joyful, and unapologetically visible. And Casey, he was really the face of it all. With his towering frame, striking features, and amazing charisma, he wasn't just a fantasy, he was the first gay adult film celebrity.
One time I worked with Casey Donovan on the movie L.A. Tool and Die. His girlfriend, wife, was angry with him, handcuffed him to a tree and left him, abandoned him. He was crying out for help, and this stranger comes through the fog. Instead of rescuing him, I'm the mystery person that never got credit for it in the film, but who cares? It was one of the better scenes, so that's plenty for me. But before that, sitting with Casey Donovan for about an hour because they weren't ready for us, and I was like starstruck. Because he's a legend. He put me so much at ease. He was so nice, so kind, and just made me feel very comfortable.
Born Andrew Robert Oken in Massachusetts in 1952, Al Parker moved to California in the early 70s and worked as a model and even as a houseboy at the Playboy Mansion. But it wasn't until he was discovered by Colt Studios that he became Al Parker, becoming one of the most iconic gay performers of all time. With his mustache, muscles, and confident presence, he defined the Castro clone look, a new image of gay masculinity that stood tall and proud in the post-Stonewall era. He wasn't coy about his sexuality. He embodied it, celebrated it, and helped normalize it on screen. But Al was more than just a performer, he was truly a visionary. In the early 1980s, he founded Surge Studios, one of the first gay-owned and operated porn studios in the country. At a time when most productions were done in secrecy, Al insisted on elevating the quality, the storytelling, and the pride behind the work. He wanted it to be art, and he wanted it to be ours.
I said to somebody who was using me in film that I would like a percentage of the money made from films that I was in, and got an unequivocal no, and said, well, I'm going to go do this on my own then.
One time I was asked by Steve Scott, the director, to be in one film with him because he wanted me to be, because I looked different than the guys in those films. Al Parker sometimes struggled, as many guys did, to get it hard, and I was a go-to fluffer. I was going to be the team player, so I remember fluffing Al Parker. So I can say I've seen Al Parker's.
How was that?
Nice. I mean, it's nice. It was nice. I mean, but I was just like there to help out, and they were very grateful that I was helping out. There were other instances where I helped guys out to get hard because the production comes to a complete halt.
Wow, so at that time you were still maintaining your day job and doing this on the weekends and at nights?
Absolutely, yeah.
What were you doing with the extra money you were making?
Paying my car insurance bill and things like that, you know.
The 1970s marked a sexual awakening unlike anything the world had seen. After years of repression and fear, gay men and women began to carve out spaces of freedom in bars, bathhouses, discos, and on city streets. The decade pulsed with liberation. The Stonewall riots were still fresh, and the message was clear. The time for shame was over. People danced until sunrise, not just for fun, but for the first taste of what it meant to be truly free. It was a time of innocence and joy, a golden era of connection and discovery.
It does seem like an amazing time in our gay history. In the 70s, it feels like it sounds so liberating and sexual and fun and free.
It very much was.
We have to talk about, the turn of events, which is the AIDS epidemic, because I feel like it was this magical time and then it came to a screeching halt.
A screeching halt.
Scientists at the National Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta today released the results of a study which shows that the lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
A mystery disease known as the gay plague has become an epidemic unprecedented in the history of American medicine. Topping the list of likely victims are male homosexuals who have many partners and drug users who inject themselves with needles. Medical experts say the disease kills 4 out of every 10 people it strikes and that it threatens to explode in the nation's cities.
You were living in LA when you first heard that there was something going on, they call it like the gay cancer back in the day, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the first person who told you or how you first found out?
Probably Barry Knight talking about it because he was working with cameramen. He did video shoots for Falcon and others, and people getting sick and starting to die. If you look at some of the compilations on YouTube of gay stars and how they died, most of it was AIDS. Later on in life, I did test positive and actually come down with AIDS, but that wasn't until the early 2000s. And I was in denial, but I was sick. How I caught it, I don't know. I went to a gay Asian bar at the time called Faces. He was there, and he was this long-haired goth-looking guy. I just thought that was really cool. It's interesting, he said to me, he says, well, if I go home with you, we're not going to have sex. And I said, that's okay, And turns out he was testing me, saying, well, if we're not going to have sex, I'm going to reject you. No, I just thought, no, I just needed some company and some intimacy, and if we don't have sex, that's okay. He did get sick and pass away from AIDS dementia. And I was his caregiver, took care of him, and until he passed. That's been 11 years now.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, and probably the bereavement has been the hardest thing in my life to deal with, because when you live with someone for 23 years, his dementia was increasing dramatically. And but sickness and health, we didn't do the vows, but you take care of someone, you don't abandon them. And so I didn't. Part of the fear back then was the medicines that they were using at the time, or at least in the prior, was AZT, which was scary. So we probably should have gotten medicine sooner than we did. But after he passed, then my mom had Alzheimer's dementia, so I took care of her for years. Somewhere along the line, I'm supposed to take care of myself, but I was proud to be a caregiver for people I love.
I just feel like dementia is also must be a really hard one to deal with as someone taking care of them,
Yeah, it is. Especially with my mom, because she forgot who I was. She knew I was familiar, but I just showered her with love and affection as much as I could. And 3.5 years. And, had hospice care, all those things, and found I would say to anybody who's thinking has to deal with dementia in their family, find someone who's a good caregiver. It's finding that caregiver that can come in, because you got to get help. I was trying to bathe my mom by myself, because you have to. So I found a good caregiver, and she was working for a company, and I just said, at the time she was making $11.50 an hour. I said, I'll pay you $18 an hour if you work for me. So she lived nearby, and I paid her extra, and she was dedicated for years. How do you pay for that? You might wonder. My mom liked to go to Indian casinos. One time she won electronic poker and won $107,000.
Amazing.
And so that money she set aside, that's what paid for her caregiving.
Wow.
I was very fortunate.
How has finding love been since your partner passed?
I've dated. Part of the problem is part of it is my age. If I don't lie about my age, and I look a little bit younger than my age, but I tell them my age and like, oh no.
How old are you?
I'm 69.
Oh, you look great, but 69 is still young, I feel like.
Well, thank you. The lighting's not too bad. The shade's helping. But no, the other thing is I tell them I'm HIV positive but undetectable. You would think that in the 2020s, people would be like, oh, that's cool. But they politely say no because they're uncomfortable. And I don't get angry about it. That's just what it is.
You know, we had a call before this interview, because I always do that with people I interview, to kind of get a little bit more of the story. And you had mentioned that the stigma towards, you know, being positive, even though you're undetectable. And it was interesting to hear that that's still the case.
It is. People are very polite about it, but they're just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't, I won't. I said, okay, it's okay, I'm not going to argue with them, but no, I just say, that's okay. What else can you do, They feel a certain way, that's how they feel.
I wish that you will find someone that maybe is undetectable themselves, and so it can feel like more of a match, maybe?
Yeah, I'd probably be with someone that is also HIV positive. I read on Reddit the different relationships with people that are positive and not and negative both, and it's difficult. I'm fortunate to be here and be able to share some old stories.
Yeah, I am really thankful that you're here too. If you could see your life in the next 5 years, what would it look like?
I hope to find a companion before I get much older, but hoping and not doing anything is not good. I have to push myself to get out there more, and I will.
Yeah, it's been so nice sitting down with you and spending time with you. Thank you so much for taking the time coming out here, and also for paving the way and being vocal about it on the channel, because I know people are going to learn. We can learn so much from people like you that are thankfully still here and able to share your stories.
I'm learning a lot from you and your the things that you post. You post things about elder gays, bathhouses, gay history, whodunit, crime stories, and occasional old stars. So it's all good. So I appreciate you preserving history out there.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you.
It's important.
Sitting down with Derrick was, again, so educational, just like Mickey Squires, but very different. That's what's so cool about interviewing people. It's like interviewing Mickey and then interviewing Derrick. I thought their stories might be very similar and didn't really know if their episodes would seem too different, but you just talk to someone and you unfold chapters in their life, and the conversation takes turns. And that's what I like so much about my interviews, is because I don't come with questions prepared. Of course, in my mind, I have some direction of topics I want to talk about, but I've always found with my interviews, and the way I work best is just to let the conversation unfold naturally. I've just always been such a curious person since I was a child. And if I just let my curiosity drive me and let that drive the conversation, it ends up unfolding and taking turns and opening up different conversations that I didn't even think were going to happen. And I was so moved by the conversation with his partner and his mom, and he's such a warm person, and I'm just so grateful that he's still around and that I found him, or that he found me rather, and that we were able to get his story documented on video, because I think a lot about my series, and in 60 years from now, how we're going to be able to look at it. And I just hope that in 60 years, we'll be able to look back on these videos and learn so much about this chapter of, LGBT life, but also chapters before us. And it's just the history that we're documenting on this channel. And I feel so grateful that I'm like the conveyor of these stories, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's the right word, but just like the way into these stories, it just is really, I'm just so honored. So thank you so much for continuing to watch and inspire me to continue to put these videos out, because I'm just so proud of them, and I'm so proud of us, and I love my community so much, and to be able to highlight all of these amazing people just feels truly like my purpose in life. I'm sending you all my love. Thank you so much for watching as always. I appreciate you so much. I hope you're having a good day, and I will talk to you soon with another video. Okay, bye.